The studio lights shone brightly as the audience settled into their seats for what everyone expected to be another exciting morning interview. Cameras moved into position while producers counted down the final seconds before going live. Cristiano Ronaldo, the legendary football icon, walked onto the set with his trademark confidence. Dressed in a tailored navy suit with a crisp white shirt, he greeted the audience with a warm smile and shook hands with host Michael Strahan. The applause echoed throughout the studio. Both men smiled for the cameras, and the conversation began on a friendly note. They spoke about Cristiano's remarkable career, his dedication to fitness, his family, and the discipline that had helped him remain one of the world's greatest athletes for so many years. Cristiano emphasized that success never came overnight. It comes from thousands of small decisions every single day, he said with a smile. The audience applauded once again. As the interview continued, Michael shifted the conversation toward criticism Cristiano had received throughout his career. He asked about difficult moments, public expectations, and the pressure of constantly being in the spotlight. Cristiano answered calmly. He explained that every athlete experiences criticism and that learning to stay focused is one of the most important lessons in professional sports. The discussion became more serious. Michael asked whether Cristiano ever felt frustrated when people judged him without knowing the sacrifices behind his achievements. Cristiano paused for a moment. He looked thoughtfully toward the audience before answering. People often see 90 minutes on the field, he said. They don't see the thousands of hours spent training, recovering, missing holidays, or staying away from family. The audience listened quietly. Several people nodded in agreement. Michael followed with another challenging question about leadership and how younger athletes sometimes compare themselves to famous players on social media instead of developing their own path. Cristiano smiled politely. I always tell young people not to chase someone else's life. Build your own. The conversation remained respectful, but the questions became increasingly direct. Michael asked whether constant media attention had ever made Cristiano feel misunderstood. Cristiano leaned slightly forward. I think sometimes headlines are created before conversations are finished. The audience became noticeably quieter. He continued speaking with complete composure. When people take one sentence out of context, millions can misunderstand who you are. Michael thanked him for being honest. He then asked whether fame had ever become more difficult than football itself. Cristiano laughed softly. There are moments when football is actually the easy part. The audience laughed with him. The atmosphere relaxed once again. Near the end of the interview, Michael introduced several questions collected from fans. One audience member asked what Cristiano considered his greatest achievement. Many expected him to mention trophies or records. Instead, he smiled warmly. My children being proud of me. The audience immediately applauded. Another fan asked how he dealt with failure after an important loss. Cristiano answered without hesitation. I allow myself one day to be disappointed. Then I go back to work. His answer received another round of applause. As the interview reached its final minutes, Michael asked one last question. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? Cristiano reflected for several seconds. I would tell him not to worry so much about proving people wrong. I would tell him to spend more time enjoying the journey. The studio became completely silent. His words resonated with everyone listening. When the interview officially ended, the audience stood and applauded. Backstage, several young athletes who had been invited to watch the program approached Cristiano. They thanked him for his honesty and asked for advice. Instead of leaving immediately, Cristiano spent nearly an hour speaking with every one of them. He listened to their dreams. He signed footballs. He posed for photographs. Most importantly, he encouraged each of them to stay disciplined, respect their families, and never stop learning. Michael watched from across the room. After the last young athlete left, he walked over to Cristiano. I appreciate how much time you gave them. Cristiano smiled. They deserve attention more than headlines. Michael nodded. I've interviewed many successful people, but not everyone stays after the cameras stop. Cristiano replied quietly. That's when the most important conversations usually begin. Several members of the production team overheard the exchange. They later shared how impressed they were by Cristiano's patience and kindness behind the scenes. The following morning, many people discussed the interview online. Some focused on the challenging questions. Others talked about Cristiano's thoughtful answers. But what spread most quickly were photos and videos of him encouraging young athletes after the show had ended. Parents thanked him for inspiring their children. Coaches shared his comments about discipline. Teachers quoted his advice about creating your own path, instead of comparing yourself to others. A week later, one of the teenagers who had met Cristiano wrote him a heartfelt letter. He explained that he had been thinking about giving up football because he believed he wasn't talented enough. After their conversation, he decided to continue training with renewed determination. Cristiano read the letter carefully. He smiled and placed it inside a folder where he kept meaningful messages from supporters. He later said during another public appearance, "Sometimes one conversation changes two lives." Months passed. The interview slowly faded from the headlines, yet the lessons remained. People remembered not because of dramatic moments or difficult questions. They remembered because two professionals had shown that respectful conversations can exist even when challenging topics are discussed. Michael continued inviting guests from different backgrounds, encouraging thoughtful dialogue rather than quick controversy. Cristiano continued training, competing, supporting charitable projects, and mentoring young athletes around the world. Looking back, many viewers realized that the most memorable part of the interview was not any single question or answer. It was the reminder that success is measured not only by achievements, but also by character. True confidence does not require anger. Real strength does not depend on winning every argument. And lasting respect is earned through humility, patience, and the willingness to encourage others, even after the spotlight fades. That morning began as just another television interview. It ended as a reminder that the greatest champions are remembered not only for what they accomplish on the field, but for the kindness, wisdom, and example they leave behind wherever they go.